Hi guys, it's Rena aka Tina Macaron, and today I will be showing you guys how to make a polymer clay Totoro. This tutorial will kind of be based on Lilac Sprinkles tutorial, but it will also be pretty different because I found my own tips and tricks to make this Totoro easier to make and more durable. I'm going to first tell you what materials we'll be needing. The first material you'll need is some gray clay, and I'll just be using the Sculpey Elephant Gray Clay. You'll need some white clay, and this is also the Sculpey White Clay. You will need some type of blade, and make sure that you're careful when using sharp objects. Some smoothing tools. These two are from Sculpey, and I'll be using these ends. I got a set of 5 dotting tools from eBay, and I will be using the smallest one and the biggest one. Some black acrylic paint and some gray acrylic paint, but I'll just be mixing black and white to get the gray. A pair of cutting pliers, some type of wire, and I'll just be using the straight part of an eye pin, but you can also use the straight part of a head pin or just some jewelry wire. A very thin paintbrush, and this is the Craft Smart Zero one. If you want to glaze your charm, you'll of course need a glaze, and you can use any kind you like, and you will also need a paintbrush. First, we're going to make the body, and you're going to want to grab a piece of gray clay and roll it in your palm. For the head, you're just going to want to pinch the top half. For the arms, grab a ball of gray clay and a blade, and you're going to want to cut the ball in half so that the arms will be equal. Then you're going to want to roll them into circles. Roll your circles into this kind of shape where one end is narrow and one end is thicker. Flatten it out into kind of like a teardrop or raindrop shape. Put it on the Totoro. I'm just smoothing and blending the arms into the body until you can't see a seam. This is what the Totoro should look like once you've attached the arms. For the stomach, grab a piece of white clay, roll it in your palms, then flatten it out. Put it on Totoro's stomach and flatten it out a bit more to make sure that it's not too lumpy. You're going to want to do the same thing that you did with the arms to the legs, but just get a ball of clay that's a bit bigger. Now rolling it in our palms. Roll the piece of clay into a log, bend it into a macaroni shape, just attaching it to the bottom of Totoro. I'm just doing the same thing with the other leg. And you're just going to want to smooth the legs onto the bottom of the Totoro, flattening the bottom. We're going to make the nose. So you're going to want to pinch some clay above the stomach into a kind of like a point or a snout shape. I'm using this small dotting tool and just rolling the metal part to kind of better the shape of the nose. Just rub around the nose to kind of blend away any imperfections, and this is probably the hardest part in making the Totoro, in my opinion at least. So just be patient and I'm sure you'll get it. For the tail, you're going to kind of do the same thing that you did with the arms, like roll that shape. One end should be thinner than the other. Measure a wire and just cut it a bit more than how long the tail is. We're doing this because the tail is kind of fragile, so it might break off. Sticking the wire in, putting it in Totoro. I'm using one of these like cutting or smoothing tools and kind of like cutting a bit of the tail into the body, and now I'm just smoothing it. For the eyes, you're going to want to cut a piece of white clay in half, roll them into circles, flattening them into the face, and you can just like kind of keep on flattening them until they're both the same size. We're doing the ears, and again, we're cutting it in half to make sure that both the ears are the same size. This is hard to see, but I'm just making them into this like teardrop shape and flattening it. Just measure out a piece of wire that's a bit bigger than the ear, like we did with the tail. Again, stick it in through the ear, because the ear is even more fragile than the tail. I first kind of determined a place to put my ears before I put them in, but if you're okay with just putting them in, just put them in. I'm just sticking them in. I'm kind of doing the same thing as I did with my tail, so I'm kind of like cutting a bit of the ear into the body. I'm not really sure how to explain that. Smoothing, blending, whatever you want to call it, the ears into the body. if you want to turn your Totoro into a charm, just add an eye pin, and I kind of couldn't fit my fingers between the ears, so I used this ball tool. Now that your Totoro is all done, you can bake it. After you finish baking the Totoro, we're going to paint on the details. First, squirt out some black paint. Paint on the eyes. I'm using this dotting tool. Paint on the nose. Adding some white paint, and then mixing it with the black to make gray. And the shade of gray that you want is going to be the same color as the gray clay that we used for the body. We're painting on the arrow designs with a thin brush, but somehow I think I messed up the brush because it's not very thin anymore. Definitely use a thin brush and it'll definitely be much cleaner than how I did it. Totoro's all dry. If you want to glaze it, you can, which I'm going to be doing right now. To glaze my charm, I will be using a bent paper clip and something to hang it on, so I'm using a pail. I'm using the way that Cool Rice Bunny glazes her charms, so I'm just going to hang the charm on the bent paper clip and then hang on the pail. I'm just glazing the Totoro and holding it by the tail, and you don't see me glazing the tail, but I do. While the other Totoro is drying, this is just one that I made before, and this one's better because I didn't have to make it on camera. And I accidentally forgot to tell you guys, but remember to draw the whiskers with the thin brush, but that's pretty self-explanatory. This is just what your Totoro should look like when you're finished with it. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment, rate, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!